my name is Brittany and thank you for being here with me today on my channel where I will be discussing topics on spirituality, energy work, and emotional wellness. So if you have interest in these topics, please give that like button a love tap and subscribe to my channel for more to come. So in today's video, we will be going over a lot of information. So if you would like to reference back to any of this information in writing, you will find a link to my blog post for this video down in the description box below. And while you are there, be sure to subscribe to my email list to receive the weekly newsletter with tips on supporting emotional health and spiritual wellness, and to receive more helpful information like this to support your self-growth and healing journey. This is part 2 to a video that was made on vicarious trauma and burnout. In that first video, it was discussed in detail why these things occur, especially with higher likelihoods for those who are healthcare workers, therapists, first responders, social workers, journalists, caregivers, educators, and loved ones of trauma survivors. In that first video, we also explored in-depth spiritual reasons for why we experience vicarious trauma and burnout that can lead to a deeper understanding of these life experiences that can also act as catalysts for personal growth, spiritual awakening, deep healing, the soul need of expressing ourselves authentically, and creating intentional mutual bonds and connections with others, just to name a few. I think it's important to consider spiritual explanations for this along with more clinical ones so we can have a greater understanding in how to heal all parts of this through caring for the whole person, mind, body, and spirit, instead of only addressing the mental and physical effects of burnout and vicarious trauma. By taking this whole person approach, it helps cultivate greater insight into life's meaning, our purpose in being of service, becoming more resilient, and how to approach all areas of our being for lasting healing. So if you guys haven't checked out part 1 yet to this video, I will link it in the description box below as well, and be sure to do so. The more knowledge we have leads to greater self-awareness to identify and resolve these things more quickly or prevent them from repeating so we can live the fulfilling and happy life we are meant to have. So in this part 2 video, we are going to discuss a very comprehensive approach to helping ourselves heal and overcome these challenges through addressing how we support healing the body and the effects this has on it so we can restore our vitality and energy levels, then how to heal and support the mind through improving stress tolerance, setting healthy boundaries, reframing outdated belief systems, and learning and implementing new skills to help overcome vicarious trauma or burnout. Lastly, we will address healing on the spiritual level around this and discuss setting emotional and energetic boundaries, cultivating healthy detachment, practicing compassion over empathy, and nurturing the needs of the heart and soul to learn what we can from these experiences, gain wisdom, and begin to see the beauty in all life experiences, including the challenges. So as it was said before, we are multidimensional beings that need healing at all levels of our being, mind, body, and spirit. When one of these areas are neglected or left out, we begin to see these reoccurring issues repeating throughout our lives, which can be really frustrating. So to give a quick background, I began working in human services 13 years ago, and for about 10 of those years, I worked in clinical social work as a psychotherapist. I specialize in trauma and somatic processing work and worked with adult populations. I struggled with vicarious trauma myself at the start of my career due to having my own unresolved trauma history and experienced repeated exposure to similar family and intergenerational trauma of those I was working with. The second time I really struggled with needing to heal from vicarious trauma was when serving the needs of the Yazidi refugee population who had endured horrific war crimes committed against them and their community in Iraq. I struggled off and on throughout my career with burnout due to having too large of a caseload and seeing too many clients a week. I also felt responsible for the needs and the positive outcomes of others and needed to work on healing codependency. Another major contributing factor for experiencing burnout was not having healthy boundaries in place around taking enough time off and away from work to heal and fully recharge. To anyone else suffering with this, my compassion is with you, and this is something we can heal from and continue to do this work with greater balance and regard for our own emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual needs. As a quick disclaimer, I am no longer licensed and do not work in the field of clinical social work any longer. With that said, this is not a form of clinical consultation, training, supervision, or advice. So let's go ahead now and get started by first discussing ways we can begin to heal and overcome vicarious trauma or burnout through addressing healing at the body and physical level to support your long-term well-being. First, start off by prioritizing what areas of your physical health need addressed first. Then make a list to follow to begin approaching each area as needed. Some examples of this are addressing health or mental health problems that need to be managed, scheduling health appointments with specialists in psychiatry if needed, or with your primary care for a physical to have all of your lab work done, just to make sure there's no underlying health issues exacerbating the problem. You can explore if a daily supplement or herbal regimen is right for you, and also prioritize your sleep by making sure you are scheduling 7 to 9 hours of time for this. And at a bare minimum, if you don't sleep this much, at least rest without doing other tasks for this amount of time each day to make sure you're giving yourself adequate time for rest and recharging. Next, create a healthy nighttime routine to help wind down, quiet the mind, relax the body, and find enjoyment in this relaxing part of the day. The next tip goes hand in hand with this in creating a gentle morning routine to ease into your day, giving yourself time to wake up and prepare for the day without being rushed. Also create a midday relaxation time, even if it's for 15 minutes to disconnect from electronics and engaging with others. This can be done through taking a walk, meditating, practicing gratitude, positive affirmations, deep breathing, or stretching. This helps us make sure that we are practicing self-care all throughout the day from the beginning to the end. Consider taking cold showers or baths or going to a sauna regularly, as these can be regenerating practices that also expose us to extreme temperatures that help us condition our nerves to increase stress tolerance that can also help us improve our coping. Next, explore massage therapy, chiropractic care, or acupuncture. Consider going to the salon for a haircut or treatment. Join a gym or an online workout service and exercise regularly. And if attendance is difficult, set up services with a personal trainer, train with a loved one, or join a fitness support group or attend group classes. When burnt out and tired, it's important not to create more excessive energy demands on our body while it's already combating exhaustion, so opt for low-impact movement like dance, yoga, Pilates, calisthenic training, swimming, walking, or stretching. Save the long-distance running, the HIIT trainings, or the strength training for when you are fully charged and you have your power back. Otherwise, it can exacerbate symptoms and prolong recovery. Practice taking naps on the weekend without any distractions such as the phone or the TV on. Spend time in nature, enjoy walks in nature, nurture the body through positive touch by cuddling up with a pet, child, partner, or loved one. Take baths or immerse yourself in bodies of water such as pools, a deprivation tank, a hot tub, bathtub, or a lake or ocean. When we are feeling exhausted and we immerse ourselves into water, the water alleviates us from the effects of gravity, and we are alleviated from the weight of our body, which can really feel restorative to no longer feel the heaviness of exhaustion and fatigue. These water breaks do wonders for giving us some time away from the weight of our bodies, emotions, and the lower mental states that we're struggling with when enduring vicarious trauma or burnout. The next suggestion is to eat a healthy diet filled with whole foods. Set healthy internal boundaries to not escape through food by eating excessive amounts of unhealthy food options. When we are exhausted, our body is seeking comfort, and that often occurs through craving comfort foods that only leave us feeling bloated, lethargic, and with negative emotions after eating foods that do not support our longevity or our overall sense of vitality. If you find yourself becoming too busy and not eating as a result, make a conscious effort to schedule in food breaks and take them. Ensure you are eating a balanced diet to refuel you for your day's demands. Also, it's helpful to practice mindful eating. This is where you eat with no distractions and are fully present with the act of the experience of taste, temperature, and textures of the food that you're using to nurture your body. With this, also avoid or significantly limit drug or alcohol consumption. When you are already exhausted and you consume these substances, you may feel temporary relief, but it's only prolonging recovery and adding to the length of time it will take to feel restored, as your body has to process and detox these substances that can cause low mood, anxiety, sleep problems, and more fatigue. Lastly, avoid excessive caffeine use, which can impact overall health in many ways and cause feelings of crashing later on, as well as sleep disruptions. Now we will discuss different ways to care for your mental and emotional well-being when healing vicarious trauma or burnout. The first suggestion is to consider going to mental health therapy regularly to process through what you are going through. Address unresolved emotional challenges, stressors, and traumas in therapy or with a healer. You can also explore different treatment options such as cognitive behavioral therapy, somatic experiencing, EMDR, brain spotting, hypnotherapy, mindfulness-based stress reduction, biofeedback, neurotherapy, and talk therapy, to name a few. It can also be helpful while you're going through this to confide in a trusted loved one to process through your feelings and experiences. Next, it may be helpful to explore and educate yourself on codependency and whether you are impacted by this, which can be a significant factor in contributing to burnout. There are CODA meetings, which is short for Codependency Anonymous, all throughout the country. And this is a great option for joining a support group and learning with others how to strengthen boundaries, heal feelings of responsibility for others' well-being and needs, improve decision-making skills, and improving confidence and self-esteem. Spend time journaling and in self-reflection to explore, examine, and process your thoughts and feelings, especially those that contribute to negative mood and outlook. Explore underlying causes of these thoughts and feelings and work to process them and reframe them to a healthier mindset. It's also helpful to interrupt negative thinking patterns, which can be done through mindfulness practices, deep breathing, or through the use of positive affirmations or practicing gratitude. The next suggestion for supporting your mental well-being is to get vulnerable and start sharing with colleagues, mentors, supervisors, and loved ones how you are feeling, and allow others to show up for you while you nurture yourself back to health. I know when I was first getting into this field, I really felt like I had to have my shit together. I felt I had to know what I was doing because I was who clients and colleagues came to for professional input and advice, as I was the only mental health provider at my agency among medical staff. I lost myself for a bit of time in this role and had too high of expectations of myself and issues around perfectionism. Because I had become so identified and attached to this role I was playing in as a helping professional, I was beginning to have a difficult time being vulnerable to express to my colleagues and peers that I was getting burnt out and I needed support. Once I decided to bite the bullet and open up, I began to hear feedback and relief from my colleagues who said they were having similar feelings, and this led to a new level of understanding between us and creating genuine support for one another. The next tip is to self-reflect on the ways you escape the world, such as substances, social media, gambling, shopping, procrastination, food, and so on. Then identify healthy and appropriate limits with these forms of escapism. Disconnecting from the outer world is not a bad thing, and it can give us time to help restore our energy levels, but it can become a problem quickly when we don't have healthy internal limits and boundaries set with ourselves around how much time we let these escapes consume our focus, which can lead to neglecting our self-care, our home, finances, and our loved ones. If shopping brings you joy but can turn into excess spending, determine a budget for a shopping expense each month and stick to it. If having a drink is something you enjoy and do not have a problem of doing in excess, you can decide to drink one night a week and set a limit to 1 to 2 drinks. These are just some examples of the different ways you can set healthy limits with yourself. Next, we'll talk about social media, music, and television. These are great ways to take a break from the outer world and get lost in the creativity and the enjoyment of this media. Consuming media is hypnotic, entertaining, and relaxing, depending on what kind of media that we're taking in. However, this is a double-edged sword, as too much of this in excess is like sleepwalking throughout our day and our lives. So set limits as to how often and for how long you enjoy this type of content. If you are recovering from vicarious trauma and burnout, be mindful that you are already exposed to emotionally demanding stories and feelings on a daily basis. So become intentional about the media that you choose to give your time, and consider avoiding emotionally intense media like dramas, violence, scary movies, and even the news, which is often about negative and fear-based information. The next healing practice to support our mental health is through improving financial health by creating a financial budget. Regularly review your budget and spending weekly to ensure expenses are covered and that you are staying within the limits of your spending. Work to set healthy limits and boundaries with yourself to honor your budget and keep it a regular practice of self-care. It's important to be realistic with our budget and consider reducing monthly expenses and any unnecessary purchases to have more for savings, or to be able to reduce the amount of hours that we work each week while we are trying to recover from vicarious trauma or burnout. For money management, I use and highly recommend Mint, which is a personal financial management website that keeps track of your budget and financial goals. I do our weekly budget every Sunday and a master monthly budget at the end of each month. I listen to a lot of Susie Orman and The Dave Ramsey Show to gain greater education on financial health, which you can find them on YouTube. Also create a savings account and delegate a certain amount of each check for sick leave, family emergencies, bereavement, vacation, mental health days, or a sabbatical. This is especially important for those in private practice, as there are no employer benefits to fall back on. So when we are out of the office and we aren't seeing clients, we aren't generating income and being compensated by any employer for this time off. Also, if you are in private practice, find a reputable financial advisor and set up a life insurance policy for your family, a retirement account you can contribute to monthly, and explore options for disability insurance. So if you experience short or long-term disability, you can have a policy to cover monthly income as well as the overhead of your business expenses. Putting this type of financial planning into place will go a long way at giving peace of mind. I can't stress the importance of this tip enough, as this was often the most common barrier I heard from other helping professionals that impacted their ability to take time off, along with seeking healing treatment for vicarious trauma or burnout due to the lack of financial resources and planning. It's never too late to teach ourselves a skill set of healthy money management. Okay, so now that we are done with the money talk, we will go over the rest of the tips on improving your mental health. The next tip is to find engaging and entertaining books to read to take a break from digital media. Also find an outlet for self-expression through creativity, such as creating art, music, writings, making a funny TikTok, or whatever appeals to your interest. Next, consider practicing humming. This calms the nerves and helps reduce tension and pain within the body. It can also help the mind redirect its attention from intrusive and incessive negative thought patterns. Consider creating a stress management toolbox of 3 or 4 healthy coping skills, such as deep breathing, the 4-7-8 breathing exercise, focus on repeating positive affirmations, practicing mindfulness, or exploring acupressure or tapping techniques to help relax the nerves and decompress when stressed or experiencing emotional reactivity. It's helpful to write these coping tools down in your phone notes to go back to when you need a reminder of the tools you have available to you, which we often forget when we are overwhelmed, fatigued, or dealing with distress. The next tip is holding space for your emotions and give yourself time to feel them even when they are painful and distressing. If you need help building into this or strengthening your stress tolerance, working in therapy or with a healer can help you do this. Allow yourself time to be angry, confused, overwhelmed, and so on. Give yourself permission to cry and release this pent-up emotional energy. The next suggestion is to read self-development books on acceptance, self-compassion, burnout, vicarious trauma, healthy coping, and positive stress management skills. Attend community consultation meetings with colleagues and share your experiences around burnout, and consider starting a support group you and your colleagues can attend, or suggest a certain amount of time each week is set aside in the main meetings to discuss this with other colleagues. You might surprise yourself with how many other people may be having similar feelings. Next, seek out consultation, supervision, and mentorship to address these feelings and experiences, to receive guidance, support, and feedback on how to address these issues. I would highly recommend scheduling breaks in between each session to take a moment for yourself, stretch, get a snack, and write the note from the last session. This helps so you're not doing this at the end of the day, just extending out the workday longer. You can also consider returning all of your phone calls and emails at the beginning or the end of each day instead of in between sessions, so you are not back to back in productivity all day long. Consider reducing your caseload and even going part-time while you are healing from vicarious trauma or burnout. Consider taking a vacation, even if you can just get out of town for the weekend, but preferably taking 1 to 2 weeks off. I know this can seem like a big ask of yourself and your finances, and thoughts may arise on whether you can afford to do this, but the more important question is can you afford not to? Consider what will happen if you do not take this time off, whether this leads to lowered immunity and frequent illness, or physical and mental exhaustion that turns into short-term or long-term disability. Also considering the quality of care that you're providing to others when you don't feel well yourself. The next tip is to consider taking a sabbatical. The duration of this will have to be up to you and your financial means to do this, but if you feel this is something you really need, begin saving up for this to cover expenses during your time off, whether that's 1 month or 6 months. You may also need to reevaluate your employment, and if you are at the right place of employment or working with the right population that best fits your interests. Sometimes we have to have hard considerations if we need to find a new place of employment, consider private practice, or perhaps closing a private practice, or changing the population that we serve. Give yourself permission to have a mental health day, even if that means having to cancel already scheduled appointments. We fear that this will upset clients or that we are responsible for their needs, but this really shows we have the ability to discern and prioritize our needs. This is a great way to model self-care and healthy boundaries. Another suggestion is to take your no-shows or cancellations as opportunities to lay down on the ground, take a rest or a short nap, do some yoga moves and stretching, go for a walk or sit outdoors, learn or study something you have been wanting to further your skill set in, practice gratitude, journal, self-reflect, meditate, or practice positive affirmations, watch some funny videos, or practice self-massage. It's time for us to embody what we encourage our clients to do and not just speak pretty words of how to live an intentional life, but to walk the walk, which will be a powerful energy we radiate without speaking on it. Others will be able to feel the quality of our self-care through our vital energy, demeanor, and rested nature. Next, figure out your sweet spot for how many clients you want to see each week and each day, and how much time you need off, as well as how much time you need alone, spend in solitude to recharge. A full-time caseload is 20 to 28 clients per week, which does not reflect the standard 40-hour work week, nor should it, as working in human services is emotional labor that requires significant amounts of energy output. We cannot see the demands this creates for providers in the way that we can for construction workers being strained by the nature and the demands of heavy lifting and physical labor, but emotional work and concentration requires significant amounts of energy consumption of our life force energy we have available each day. The next tip is to attend compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma continuing education workshops, or just bringing up your regular work routine and attending continuing education workshops to learn a new skill set or treatment modality. This helps break up your regular routine and gives you some time away from the office. The last tip in the mind healing category is to try not to tell yourself how much you hate or dislike your job or how burnt out you are on a regular basis, because the cells of your body are listening and it will just create more inner tension and emotional charge that can have ill effects. Now we have come to the last healing category, which is practices to heal vicarious trauma and burnout at the spiritual level. The next tip is to cultivate self-compassion. This can be done through reading more on the topic from books such as Radical Compassion by Tara Brach or Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff. You could also explore inner child work with a trained healer or therapist to cultivate this inner connection. The next healing practice is learning the difference between compassion and empathy, and learning how to practice compassion over empathy to cultivate healthy emotional detachment while still upholding attunement within the healing space and with the person that you're with. I will be making a full video explaining this more in the future, so stay tuned if you have interest in that. One way to do this practice is we can remind ourselves that I can be a loving presence with the other person without having to feel the pain that they're feeling. We can imagine ourselves staying grounded like a sturdy mountain or see roots growing from their feet into the ground. When we begin to feel negative emotions, we can acknowledge this and reaffirm, it isn't necessary for me to feel this pain. I'm a loving space of unconditional regard and presence, and that is enough. Repeating a mantra can help us stay more present so the emotion doesn't take us over. Some examples of these positive affirmations you may be repeating in your mind could be something to the effect of, may this person be happy and find healing. Love heals. Thank you for allowing me to be in this space with them. May they feel safe and loved. I am here with you and you are not alone. You are so brave. Or you can practice Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. The next tip is related again to healthy emotional detachment. At times when we hear a story, our minds may start constructing images of how that story occurred as a way of perceiving another's experience. However, this is not ideal when we are hearing disturbing stories, and at times this can occur as intrusive thoughts and images. If this begins to occur, practicing a grounding mantra again is a helpful practice, such as I am present in this moment, I am safe, we are safe, all is well, or all is love. We may also consider the use of prayer, asking for us to stay present within the moment. We could pray for comfort, safety, and healing. When the mind stays persistent and intrusive images occurring while you are hearing disturbing details, you can help shift the mental activity to an intentional visualization, imagining the room as being filled with white healing light, seeing grounding energy move through the soles of each of your feet, or white light moving in through the crown of the head, filling the body or the aura with loving light, or seeing the person or you both surrounded by healing green ray light from the heart chakra. This can all be done as you learn to focus mental energy and attention while staying attuned and present for the healing work taking place. We will now move on to other practices to nurture our spiritual health that can include reading, listening, or watching content on spiritual development, self-growth, or spiritual or religious teachings that resonate with you. You can consider joining a religious or spiritual community and participate in community activities associated with this on a regular basis. You can explore yoga and meditation, or integrate the use of spiritual or religious mantras or positive affirmations, and allocating a certain amount of time to this each day. For instance, starting off the day with 5 to 10 minutes of focusing the mind on repeating these uplifting mantras or statements. To help with spiritual healing, explore the use of prayer and practicing gratitude on a daily basis. You can spend time in solitude to self-reflect, contemplate, and recharge. Also, while you're doing this, you can consider journaling your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and reflect on these to cultivate a self-study practice to know yourself more deeply and completely, to know what your triggers are and any shadow work that can be done around unresolved feelings, traumas, and painful belief systems. Next, practice observing the mind's activity as a witness. One way to do this is asking, I wonder what thought I will have next. Then notice what arises and continue to repeat this process. After a while, a part of the mind, some may call the ego, becomes aware that it's being watched, and thinking begins to slow down, and there are longer periods of silence between each thought. Another mindfulness practice could be sitting with your emotions and saying, "I welcome you here and you have my full attention." And notice how they are experienced within the body and change from moment to moment. This helps us with cultivating presence and acceptance with what is rather than being at odds with it. Another helpful practice is to reframe negative thinking, negative self-talk, and inner criticism. Remind yourself on a regular basis that you are good, worthy, and deserving of peace, love, and joy. You can then consider practicing acceptance of the human condition and collective experience. Mantras to help with this could be, "I surrender my will for the will of God," "Thy will be done," "All is well," "I trust the will of God," "I surrender to the will of the Creator, the higher self, God, the divine, or the universe," finding whatever is meaningful to you and your own beliefs regarding the wording. Next, take some time to reflect on how challenges and pain can be teachers of important life lessons and help us develop certain positive qualities such as patience, tolerance, acceptance, courage, forgiveness, empowerment, confidence, and so on. Reflect on what you've learned from previous hardships. This helps us move away from a victim mentality of feeling powerless and helpless to fate, life's circumstances, and blaming a higher power, ourselves, or others for the difficulties in this life. We begin to see there is divine order and purpose to all life experiences, even during times it is difficult to see this for ourselves. Another way that we can nurture our spiritual health is spending quality time with our loved ones, pets, and animals. This helps strengthen our emotional supports to lean on, along with improving bonds, which acts like an antidote to healing burnout. Also, making time for positive touch and appropriate relationships can be helpful. Make it a priority to spend time in nature and listen to uplifting and inspiring music. You can also explore transcendental dance, which is a mindfulness form of meditation done through the movement of the body without thinking or choreographed movement. You turn on music and allow the mind to focus on the movement that wants to organically express the body as you practice non-judgmental acceptance and awareness of allowing the body to connect to its own innate forms of self-expression and movement, which can be a helpful meditation practice that feels cathartic, freeing, healing, and a more engaging meditation practice if there are struggles with more passive forms of meditation. Any music will do, but if you want to try out tracks made specifically for this type of movement meditation, Gabrielle Ross music and guided tracks are highly recommended, and you can find them here on YouTube. The next tip is to consider exploring setting psychic or emotional boundaries at the start of your workday and or in between each session. Again, I'm going to make a detailed video on this in the future, so stay tuned for that. This can be done through a simple prayer asking for protection from energy that does not serve your highest good, imagining there is a shield of golden light around you protecting your aura from taking on any negative energy, or wearing or carrying a pendant, stone, or a talisman that represents protection. Then at the end of each day or between each session, you can explore doing a cleansing practice to release the energy within the space that belongs to or was generated by another, and imagine white light within the space resetting it to an uplifting and healing energetic environment. The last tip of this video is to prioritize laughing, pleasure, and fun. This is so commonly missed when we think about self-care and balance, so find what makes you laugh and feel happy and like a child again. Watch a funny movie, go to a trampoline park, bowling, dancing, swimming, whatever brings this joy out in you. Explore what pleasure and fun means to you and make a plan to create this in your life. Okay guys, we have come to the end of this video and we have gone over so much information, and as a reminder, if you need to reference back to any of it, the link to this blog post can be found in the description box below, and don't forget to subscribe to my email list while you're there to receive my weekly newsletter and receive updates on new posts. I appreciate you taking the time to care for yourself, learn more about the impacts of serving and healing and helping roles, and for your time in joining me in this discussion. I would love to hear from you in the comments any additional thoughts or suggestions you would like to share regarding the impacts this work has had on you, what you find effective to helping yourself heal and recharge, and I would also like to know if self-care is easy for you to practice, or if it's something you struggle making time for, and what are the biggest barriers that you've run into in healing vicarious trauma or burnout. If you guys enjoyed this video, you can help support my channel by tapping on that like button and subscribing to my channel to receive more information like this to support your healing and growth journey. Also, if you know of anyone that may benefit from this information, please be sure to share, and be sure to stay on the lookout for my next videos on the complexities of working with others as a psychotherapist and how to become the most effective healer. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I will see you in the next ones to follow, and I wish you all healing and happiness.